Welcome everyone to the Sim Racing Show. In our new studio, I'm here with Sam, professional karter and sim racer. We're going to go through the news for this week, all in the world of sim racing, your one-stop shop. So F124 news, we've got truck simulation news as well. We've got big iRacing news, iRacing wet weather. We've got Gran Turismo 7, maybe disappointing news we're going to go through as well. Assetto Corsa news, Test Drive Unlimited news, and we've got a new simulation management game, if that's what it is. We're going to run through all this kind of stuff, lots more things as well. Like I said, sit back, enjoy. We're going to run through the world of sim racing for you this week. We're going to start with F124 because I said in the sim racing show last week, it looked like that was going to come out earlier. EA had got a load of influencers down, content creators. I said, I think that's probably a good thing. They're going to get some good feedback on the game. Seems to be a game that sort of perennially disappoints. I don't know if you follow the F1 esports that much, Sam. I do a little bit, but It seems like the esports drivers are always really frustrated with the game.
There always seems to be issues going on with regarding the penalties and stuff like that, I find. So hopefully they've sorted that out.
Yeah, there's penalties, there are track limits, also like running the game at 60 FPS is faster than 120, whatnot. And also there's been a whole drama about F1 esports, which is a whole nother show that I've actually covered on the channel. But fundamentally, how do you feel about F124, Sam? I feel like it should be a bigger game than it is. But...
yeah, I feel like it needs multiple layers, essentially. It needs more engagement, like with the F1 Manager game. It needs more engagement, it needs more playtime, because you can do a season or two of it, and you feel like you've completed the game.
Yeah, it doesn't really have that depth, and it's in a bit of a weird place because they've got the F1 esports, and they seem to be very vocally important. And then they have the vast majority of players, sort of casual players, but they seem to be trying to do a game in between. So getting the content creators is hopefully a good thing for that. Right, let us know what you think about F124 as well. Moza Truck Wheel has been launched, and I've got it here.
Look at that.
I've got it here. So I'm going to give you, Sam, here for the first time.
Never helped this.
This is Moza's new TSW steering wheel, available to purchase now. I actually do have an affiliate link, so that is essentially sponsored, or that's free. Very important you know that. And I've used it in American Truck Simulator. Sam, you drive a van in real life.
Yeah.
Is it really?
I'll tell you what, it's pretty bang on. I mean, I drive a big flatbed, so it is pretty bang on for the actual right size. I mean, I wish I had my horn on the steering wheel like this, but the actual size of it and the weight, like it actually feels like good quality.
Yeah.
It's a nice weighty thing.
I was surprised when I used it because it did feel quite one-to-one. I'm not using it properly because I put it on my standard wheelbase, but it does come with a tilting bracket.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I think lorry drivers, you drive a little bit more
like a bus driver,
like
yeah,
a bus
very
driver,
flat.
Yeah. But the most satisfying thing for me about that wheel is the way it sort of just goes through your fingers when you're sort of going, it just sort of slides through, which I don't get with a.
But no, I'm very impressed with like the size of it and how realistic it is. All the buttons look like actual factory buttons. They don't look like sim racing buttons. They actually look like ones you would find on your van or your truck.
Yeah, very different wheel. It's kind of mad that you can put it on the same wheelbase or something like that. But apparently that's £299 from Moza. So if you're a truck simulator, I guess it's a sim racing show, but I have used it on Le Mans Ultimate or iRacing in the hypercar. So the next one we've got is TrackDayR update, and this is a motorcycle simulator from Italian developer Madcow. I don't pretend to know anything about this, but TrackDayR's got an update. I know about Ride, the motorbike game from, I think, Milestone. But anyway, motorbike fans, let us know if you're interested in that. Next one, and we are going to get onto iRacing and Rain. Next one is Gran Turismo 7's February update. So Sam and I, we used to race a lot on Gran Turismo actually back in the day. Gran Turismo 7 seems to be in this sort of drip feeding content stage. It hasn't been a track for a while. The last track was the fictional Lake Louise, and this time round the three cars are a Renault 4 from 1985, really old car, looks older than that actually. We've got a Mitsubishi Lancer, we've got Loader Lancer, we've got an Audi TT. So people are sort of saying, is the content drying up for Gran Turismo? I don't know what you feel about that, Sam, because you're someone who I think probably used to play more Gran Turismo, now you're doing more PC sim racing.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play it a lot, and then we moved over to the GT7. I just didn't get the feel of GT7. I know my opinion is my opinion. Everyone's got a different opinion. I never got the feel of it, but looking at the list of cars, it is disappointing to see. The only cool one is a Suzuki Jimmy. Love a Suzuki Jimmy. I would love one of them as a real life car. I mean, Evos, you can't go wrong with them, but the standout for me would be the Jimny.
It's worth saying that the Jimny now has an engine swap, so you can engine swap your Jimny, which is a bit of a meme car. Next one, we got Assetto Corsa news. It's available on SimGrid. So there's a lot of these platforms that, for me, I'm going to say it from my perspective, very interested in your perspective, but like on Gran Turismo, you're in the game, you're in the UI, you want to race online, you go through the official menus and it kind of puts you there.
Yeah.
iRacing, a little bit similar. On PC, for the likes of Assetto Corsa, Assetto Corsa Competizione, R Factor as well, but not going to anything, you go through these separate sort of matchmaking things like simracing.gp, Grid Finder, SimGrid. I'm getting more used to it, but I still think there's quite a lot of friction there. I don't know what.
I mean,
what
I've never used it before. Our latest BUKC Carbon 100 iRacing.
Now it's using it.
We're now using it, and for someone who isn't completely technically minded, I'm struggling. It needs to be made a lot smoother for me. For me to find everything, I'm clicking here, and I'm like, where am I clicking next? For me, it needs to be streamlined.
I think that these need to be integrated by the games. Like there needs to be some API where it's just in the game and it goes there. So some technical thing. If you happen to know about how that would work, let us know in the comments. But I think it is, if you're sim racing, really into the sim racing, it's fine. But if we want sim racing to grow and sort of be more approachable, I think
it needs to be a lot more streamlined, a lot more user friendly. And like you said, it needs to integrate it between them all. It'd be a lot nicer.
You never really know if it's going to work until you're actually in the lobby and it's sort of somehow connected. But until that moment, you're sort of like, what is this, I find?
Yeah.
Right, next thing we've got is Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. There was a Nakon Connect event, which is the publisher, Kireth, I think the developer. Test Drive Unlimited. I don't know if you ever played Test Drive back in the day, but I loved the first Test Drive Unlimited, sort of like on the newer console, like 2005.
Yeah, I don't remember playing it.
Yeah, well, they go way back. Like some people say Test Drive Unlimited is like actually one of the OG racing.
Was that like the Need for Speed?
Yeah, even
era?
before. Yeah, like before then.
No, I didn't play that, sadly.
But anyway, they did announce something interesting at the sort of conference, the Connect they did, which is Endurance Motorsport Series. So this is a brand new racing game that I don't really know too much about it, but I think it's some level of management, or I don't pretend to be an expert, but Endurance Motorsport Series, it includes the Porsche 963, the hypercar that just won in Qatar yesterday, and the 911 GT3 R, so it's got some sort of Porsche tie-up. But there's a new licensed sort of sim racing or management or something game coming up, which I think is absolutely great.
I mean, that sounds amazing to me. I love management games, football management, all of them. I love them.
Yeah,
could play them for hours.
Yeah, and we mentioned I think F1 Manager earlier in the show. I think F1 Manager could actually be so much better, and there's a real, especially for endurance racing like WEC, like the management, the tyres. There's a real opportunity there for someone to come in and just make an amazing game that is going to be.
Yeah, really I don't know if you've seen it. Like you got on the mobile, you've got Motorsport Manager.
Yeah.
If they could scale that up to PC, which hopefully this would be.
Yeah.
That would be a winner.
Yeah, Motorsport Manager, very underrated game. So the next thing I want to go through, and this is a big one, is iRacing. So as we record this, iRacing Rain is imminent. They've been working on it for years and years and years. Yep. They've just pushed it back by a few months to coming out imminently to get more stuff on the platform. I just want a high level, because we both race in real life in sort of different series, and we've raced in the rain. Like, what do you think it's going to do for the open lobbies? And like, is it going to be chaos?
I think the lower splits. I think if you're in the lower splits, I think that's going to be it's going to be, if you can stay on the track, you've gained a lot of places.
Yeah.
It's going to be key just staying on the track. Higher splits, obviously the higher end drivers, it's going to be cool. Everyone's going to learn about it. But the lower splits, I reckon if you can just stay on the track, you'll be good.
That is a real top tip, honestly. And I'm thinking back to when I was starting in karting and I was a beginner, but it was in the wet weather races sometimes. By just staying on the track, I was able to get positions I could never get in the drive.
Exactly. Literally, around your area of level, a lot of the people in the lower end, just stay on the track and you will make positions every time. You can be 3 or 4 seconds laps slower, but if you don't bin it.
Yeah. And we've produced a video, so we'll link it if it's online now, about how to drive in wet weather conditions, how to use the wet line, how to avoid sort of the traps of going on rubber surfaces, how to overtake, how to defend. And I'm really interested, Sam, to like, if you think about it, in real world racing, it's all, we know it's so expensive, and you're a professional karter, so you're getting paid to drive, which is, you're one of the most experienced people like that. But even the amount of access you would get on sim racing is just way more than most people could do on a track.
Oh, 100%.
So I wonder if we're going to find some really interesting ways to race where people are experimenting, the very top elite drivers, in these conditions, because we don't get, even professional drivers don't get to race that often in the wet conditions, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in Formula One with all the simulators, and it is filtering down to karting. You've got karting sim, which does it, and it will. This rain coming for iRacing will transform it, I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon just your general club racers, the people who don't have factory sims, but they have their own one, I think it'll be a complete game changer for them.
So that's big. So yeah, iRacing rain. So a lot of things to go through in the sim racing show. There's a lot of stuff coming down the line as well with the Assetto Corsa Competizione, bringing the Nordschleife, Le Mans Ultimate is going to keep adding stuff. And that seems to be a very successful launch as well. And iRacing rain, I think, is going to absolutely dominate. So let us know what you think in the comments. Make sure to subscribe as well. And the newsletter is coming at the same time. So go to simracenews.com. Make sure to sign up to the newsletter, and we'll see you next time.